The city of Crescent Heights buzzed with life each morning. Streets filled with honking rickshaws, school children in neat uniforms, and shopkeepers lifting their shutters. Among the crowd lived a young man named Ian, 22 years old, who had dreams bigger than the sky but habits weaker than a spider's web. Every morning, while others rushed to work or school, Ian remained in bed. His alarm clock rang at 7 a.m., but he snoozed it again and again until sunlight flooded his room. By the time he finally got up, it was often close to 11 o'clock. His mother would sigh, shake her head, and say, "Son, if you can't respect the morning, you'll never respect your dreams." But Ian only smiled lazily, brushing aside her words like dust on a window. Ian had once been a bright student. In school, teachers praised his intelligence, his ability to think differently, and his curiosity. But as he grew older, distractions grew stronger. His phone, filled with endless notifications from social media, became his best friend. He spent hours scrolling, laughing at meaningless videos, and chatting late into the night. Books gathered dust on his shelf, while his notebooks lay unopened for weeks. He had enrolled in university to study business, but he barely attended lectures. "There's plenty of time," he always told himself. "I'll study later. I'll catch up later." Later became tomorrow, and tomorrow became never. One afternoon, while lying on the sofa with his phone in hand, his childhood friend Hamza visited him. Hamza had been Ian's classmate in high school, but unlike Ian, he had chosen a disciplined path. He woke up early every day, studied hard, and worked part-time to support his family. Hamza entered the room, saw Ian still in pajamas, and said half-jokingly, "Brother, do you ever get tired of wasting days like this?" Ian laughed. "Relax, Yar. Life is long. I have plenty of time to do something big. Why rush?" Hamza shook his head. "Time doesn't wait. Every hour you waste is an hour you'll never get back." But Ian, confident in his youth, ignored the advice. He believed life would eventually give him a chance, that success would knock at his door without him lifting a finger. Months passed. Ian's exams came closer. While his classmates prepared, burning midnight oil, Ian spent nights watching movies. The day before exams, panic struck him. He stayed awake the whole night trying to memorize months of lectures in hours. But when the paper came, his mind went blank. His results? Disastrous. His parents were heartbroken. His father, a hard-working shopkeeper who had struggled his whole life to give Ian a better future, scolded him. "Do you think success is a game? We gave you every opportunity, but you threw it away. Time wasted never comes back, Ian." But instead of changing, Ian escaped deeper into carelessness. He told himself, "It's just one failure. I'll try harder next time." Yet, next time never came, because his habits never changed. One evening, while sitting on the roof of his house, Ian gazed at the orange sunset. The air was cool, and children played cricket in the streets. He thought about his life. Deep down, he knew he was wasting something precious, but pride didn't let him admit it. Just then, Hamza called him. "Ian, I got an internship at a big company. If I do well, they might offer me a full-time job." Ian congratulated him, but inside, jealousy burned. Hamza, the same boy who once borrowed Ian's notes, was now moving ahead in life. Meanwhile, Ian was stuck in the same cycle of laziness. That night, for the first time, he couldn't sleep peacefully. He wondered, why am I still here while everyone else is moving forward? But instead of changing, he tried to silence the guilt with another excuse. "I'm still young. There's still time. I'll start tomorrow." Tomorrow, always tomorrow. Little did Ian know, tomorrow was about to bring lessons that would shake his world. Life had a way of teaching those who ignored time, and soon Ian would realize that wasted hours could turn into wasted years. For now, he remained blind, unaware that the clock was ticking louder than ever. Weeks rolled into months, and Ian's life continued its careless rhythm. His mornings started late, his afternoons drifted away in meaningless activities, and his nights belonged to the endless scroll of social media. Deep down, he still carried dreams of becoming a successful businessman, owning a house by the sea, and traveling the world, but his actions were chains holding him down. One morning, his father entered his room. The clock showed 11:30 a.m., and Ian was still asleep. His father's face was lined with disappointment. "Ian," he said sternly, "you're not a child anymore. You're wasting your life. Look at Hamza, look at others your age. They're moving forward while you stand still. Do you want to depend on me forever?" Ian rubbed his eyes, pretending not to care. "Abu, I'll do something great, you'll see. I just need the right idea." But ideas never come to those who sleep through their days. Soon, university results arrived again, and as expected, Ian had failed in most of his subjects. While his classmates celebrated promotions to the next semester, Ian faced the humiliation of repeating courses. His professors shook their heads in pity, whispering, "Such talent, wasted by laziness." At home, the atmosphere grew tense. His mother cried silently at night, wondering why her son couldn't see what was happening to his life. His father began to lose patience. "Ian," he said one evening, "if you can't study properly, at least work with me at the shop. Learn responsibility." Reluctantly, Ian agreed. But even at the shop, he lacked focus. While his father dealt with customers, Ian sat behind the counter scrolling on his phone. When asked to manage accounts, he made careless mistakes. Once, he even gave a customer the wrong change, costing his father money. "Is this how you'll handle your future?" his father shouted. "If you can't value small tasks, how will you ever achieve big dreams?" Ian felt ashamed, but pride made him silent. Meanwhile, Hamza's life became a mirror of what Ian's could have been. Hamza worked long hours at his internship, but his efforts paid off. Within a year, he was offered a permanent job with a good salary. His discipline and punctuality impressed everyone. One day, Hamza visited Ian again, driving a small but brand new car. Ian stared at it with wide eyes. "Wow, you bought this already?" Ian asked, half jealous, half admiring. Hamza smiled. "Hard work and time management, brother. Every hour I used wisely brought me closer to this. You could have done the same." Those words cut deep. That night, Ian lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The truth gnawed at him. He had the same opportunities, maybe even more talent, but he had thrown it all away by wasting time. The final blow came when his university finally dismissed him for repeated failures. A letter arrived stating that he could no longer continue his studies. Holding the paper in his trembling hands, Ian felt the ground slip from beneath his feet. His parents were devastated. His father sat silently, staring at the floor, while his mother wiped her tears. "You had everything, Ian," she whispered. "But you lost it all because you thought tomorrow would always wait for you." For the first time, Ian felt the crushing weight of his wasted years. He looked at his friends, moving forward in their careers, building futures, while he remained stuck at the starting line. Yet, despite the pain, Ian still tried to escape reality. Instead of facing his failures, he drowned himself deeper into distractions. Days blurred together: sleep, food, phone, sleep again. The cycle seemed endless. But life does not allow anyone to hide forever. One evening, while returning from a casual walk, Ian saw something that shook him to his core. He noticed a group of young boys, around 16, sitting on the roadside, selling small handmade items: bracelets, keychains, toys. Their clothes were simple, their hands rough, but their eyes shone with determination. They were clearly poor, yet they worked hard, using every minute to earn a living. Ian stood frozen. These boys, who had so little, were using their time more wisely than he ever had. He realized, with burning shame, that he, blessed with education, a home, supportive parents, had wasted every chance. That night, his heart felt heavy, as though carrying years of regret. He whispered to himself, "Time. I wasted time, and time wasted me." The consequences of his negligence were now clear. Lost education. Lost trust. Lost opportunities. A life slipping further away from the dreams he once held. But deep inside, a tiny spark still remained. For the first time, Ian began to wonder, is it too late to change? Can I rebuild my life if I learn to use time wisely? What Ian didn't know was that life was about to give him one final chance, a turning point that would decide whether he would remain trapped in regret or rise into greatness. The days after Ian's dismissal from university were some of the darkest in his life. His father no longer spoke much to him, his mother's eyes carried silent disappointment, and even his younger cousins whispered behind his back. Everywhere he went, he felt the sting of failure. Yet life has a strange way of guiding lost souls. Sometimes, the heaviest storms break us only to push us toward clearer skies. One evening, while wandering aimlessly through the streets, Ian noticed an old library he had never paid attention to before. The building was quiet, its windows glowing with soft yellow light. Out of curiosity, he stepped inside. Rows upon rows of books stretched before him. The air smelled of paper and ink, the silence calming his restless thoughts. At one corner of the room sat an elderly man with white hair and glasses, reading intently. His presence radiated wisdom. Ian sat at a nearby table, pretending to read, but his mind was elsewhere. After a while, the old man looked up and asked kindly, "You seem troubled, young man. Books can help, but sometimes sharing your burden lightens the heart." Something in his voice made Ian open up. He confessed everything, his wasted time, his failures, his parents' disappointment, his jealousy of friends who had moved ahead. The old man listened patiently, then smiled gently. "You remind me of myself when I was young. I, too, wasted years thinking tomorrow would always be there. But tomorrow never comes unless we build it today." Ian frowned. "But I've already lost so much. It feels too late to fix anything." The old man leaned forward. "Let me tell you a secret. Time is like water in your hand. If you waste it, it slips away. But if you cup your hands properly, even a little water can quench great thirst. You may have lost years, but you still have today. If you use today wisely, you can rebuild tomorrow." Those words struck Ian's heart like lightning. For the first time, he realized that regret wouldn't change the past, but wise choices could shape the future. Over the next few days, Ian returned to the library often. The old man, whose name was Professor Karim, had been a retired teacher who dedicated his evenings to mentoring young people. He taught Ian about discipline, focus, and the value of every hour. One day, Karim gave him a small notebook. "This is your time ledger. Every day, write down how you spend your hours. At the end of the week, see how much you wasted and how much you invested. Treat time as money. Spend it only where it gives you value." Ian followed the advice. The first week, his notebook revealed the harsh truth. Most of his hours were spent on sleep and phone. He felt ashamed but determined. The next week, he cut his screen time in half, spending more hours reading and helping his father at the shop. Bit by bit, he began to taste the satisfaction of using time wisely. His father noticed the change. One morning, when Ian woke up early and offered to open the shop, his father raised his eyebrows in surprise. "You? Awake before 9, he teased. Ian smiled shyly. "I'm trying to change, Abu. I don't want to waste my life anymore." For the first time in months, his father's eyes softened. "That's all I wanted to hear." The turning point became stronger when Hamza invited Ian to a seminar at his company. The seminar was about time and productivity. At first, Ian hesitated. He felt embarrassed to face professionals when he had nothing to show. But Hamza insisted, and Ian agreed. The seminar changed everything. The speaker, a successful entrepreneur, shared his journey from poverty to wealth. His secret: wise use of time. "I wasn't the smartest in school," the man said, "but I respected time. While others wasted hours, I invested them in learning, building, and creating. Time is the greatest currency, and those who spend it wisely become rich, not just in money, but in life." Every sentence felt like it was directed at Ian. He realized that success was not about luck or talent. It was about discipline and the daily choices one made with time. That night, Ian sat alone in his room. The soft morning breeze slipped through the half-open window of Ian's small room. He stirred, eyes heavy with the weight of years wasted in idleness. But this morning felt different. The echoes of Professor Karim's words still rang in his head. Time is a river. Waste it, and it flows away forever. For the first time in years, he resisted the pull of his bed after dawn prayers. His body begged him to lie down again, but his mind whispered, "Not today. Not anymore." He sat upright, rubbed the sleep from his eyes, and looked out at the pale orange glow of the rising sun. On his desk lay a dusty notebook that had long been abandoned. He pulled it close, opened to the first page, and wrote in neat letters, "At 7 a.m., I will be at the shop. No excuses. No wasted time." That small act, so ordinary on the surface, carried the weight of a vow. When Ian reached the family shop that morning, his father nearly dropped the bundle of receipts in his hand. "You, at this hour?" his father asked, half in disbelief, half in hope. "Yes, Abba. I'm here to help," Ian replied simply. The old man studied his son's face. For years he had seen nothing but excuses, laziness, and regret in those eyes. But today there was something else: determination. His father said nothing at first. He only handed him the ledger, thick with calculations and notes. "This shop was built by your grandfather's sweat," he said finally. "I worked hard to keep it alive. Someday it will be yours. But only if you are ready to carry the weight." Ian nodded, swallowing hard. For the first time, he didn't see the shop as a burden or a cage. He saw it as a legacy, a chance to prove himself. He flipped open the ledger, ran his fingers over the numbers, and began noting down the day's sales with steady hands. The change was not easy. Every morning was a battle against his old habits. His body wanted sleep, his friends wanted him to waste time, his phone begged for attention. But each day he reminded himself of the nights spent in regret, the envy he once felt for Hamza, the wasted years he could never get back. He whispered to himself often, "I cannot control the past, but I can own the present." Every evening, without fail, Ian walked to the old library where Professor Karim awaited him. The professor became both mentor and friend, guiding him patiently. They sat in the quietest corner, surrounded by shelves of forgotten books. Karim would speak of history's great minds, of Newton's long years of solitude, of Thomas Edison's countless failures, of writers and scientists who had turned the discipline of time into empires of knowledge. "Do you know, Ian," Karim once said, "the greatest enemy is not poverty, not failure, not even ignorance. It is wasted time. Once gone, you cannot buy it back. Even the richest king cannot buy back a single lost hour." Ian listened, every word sinking deep into his heart. He filled pages of his notebook with lessons, quotes, and reflections. His notebook became a mirror of his new self, a self he was still building, but one he could be proud of. Gradually, he began making changes in his daily life. He deleted the useless apps from his phone that once swallowed hours. He stopped lingering aimlessly at tea stalls with careless friends who had no vision. Instead, he filled his evenings with reading, writing, and planning. It wasn't that he never felt temptation. Often, his old friends mocked him. "You've become boring, Ian," they laughed. "Where's the fun in your new life?" Ian smiled but didn't respond. Deep down he knew, they wouldn't understand. Fun had once been his escape, but now purpose was his strength. His parents noticed a year had passed since Ian first walked into that old library, broken and full of regret. Today, he stood taller, sharper, and more disciplined than he had ever been. The boy who once wasted hours now treated every minute like gold. The change had not gone unnoticed. His father, once hopeless about his future, now trusted him with managing larger parts of the business. Customers respected his politeness, his ability to calculate quickly, and his dedication to serving them. What had once been just a small neighborhood shop began growing under his leadership. One afternoon, as Ian arranged goods on the shelves, his father approached him. "Son, I want you to take charge of expanding our business. We've saved for years, but I never had the time to grow beyond this shop. Now, with your energy and focus, we can." Ian's heart swelled with pride. This was the chance he had once dreamed of, except back then, he had been too careless to deserve it. Now, After months of discipline, he was ready. Together, father and son opened a second shop in a busier part of the city. It was risky, but Ian had studied market trends, compared suppliers, and planned carefully. The first month was tough, but by the third month, sales doubled. Word spread quickly. The young man who once wasted his life had now turned into a rising entrepreneur. But Ian's transformation wasn't only about money. Inside, he had grown stronger. He no longer felt jealous of Hamza or others. Instead, he celebrated their successes and shared his own journey of change. One evening, he sat with Hamza at a tea stall. Hamza smiled and said, "You've changed more in 1 year than most people do in 10. What's your secret?" Ian stirred his cup thoughtfully. "No secret. Just learning the value of time. I used to think success was about luck. But now I know, it's about what you do with each hour. Time is the seed. If you waste it, weeds grow. If you nurture it, gardens bloom." Hamza nodded. "And your garden is blooming, my friend." Professor Karim also noticed the growth. When Ian visited the library, he proudly showed him his journals, filled with records of productive days. Karim adjusted his glasses and said, "I always believed you had potential, Ian. But remember, discipline is not a one-time act. It is a lifelong commitment. The moment you stop respecting time, it will slip away again." Ian bowed his head respectfully. "I understand, sir. I will never go back to my old ways." Soon, Ian began mentoring younger boys in the neighborhood, the same way Karim had guided him. He taught them how to plan their day, avoid distractions, and value small tasks. He told them his own story openly, admitting his mistakes so they could avoid repeating them. One boy asked, "Bye, did you ever regret wasting so many years?" Ian smiled softly. "Yes, I regretted it every day. But regret doesn't fix the past. Only wise use of time fixes the future. Remember this, it's never too early or too late to respect time." 2 years later, Ian's business had expanded into 3 shops. His father finally retired, saying proudly, "I gave my life to build this foundation, but you turned it into a future. I couldn't ask for a better son." His mother, with tears of joy, whispered, "All those sleepless nights of worry were worth it. You've made us proud." And Ian, standing in his new office, knew one thing for certain: none of this would have been possible if he had continued to waste his days. One night, as he sat alone on the roof of his house, the same roof where years ago he had drowned in jealousy and regret, he looked at the stars. The air was cool, the city lights twinkled, and for the first time, he felt completely at peace. He whispered to himself, "Time was once my enemy because I wasted it. Now, it is my greatest friend because I respect it. I lost years, but I gained wisdom. And with wisdom, I can shape the rest of my life." The story of Ian spread among friends, neighbors, and even strangers who heard about his journey. People began to say, "If he could change, so can we." He became living proof of the greatest truth of life. Backhand index pointing right: the power of using time wisely can turn failure into success, regret into strength, and ordinary lives into extraordinary ones.